Don't believe I have the flu? Sure, I will come in. So, I was working at a certain brown package shipping company as a night shift supervisor in a loading area. The hub manager had a policy that if you called in, you would be told you had to come in to be assessed. I get it. Night shift. Starts at 9. People party. Too drunk to come. Want to stay with their girl. Works the day and are tired. I had been spilling my guts most of the day. So was weak. Dehydrated and kind of dizzy. Manager insisted I come in. See how I feel. So, drove to the building. Practically stumbled up to the office. Picked up his trash can and delivered stomach bile into a mesh trash can that was missing a liner. Said I will see you tomorrow. Maybe. Never heard anything more about it. That's kind of a dangerous policy. You can be so sick that it's dangerous to run machinery. Or drive. You sounded like you were. Sounds like you made your delivery for the night. Had a positive COVID self-test, called my boss to say I'd work from home ISO instead of coming to the office. I wasn't too sick to work. And didn't want to take a risk towards my colleagues. Anyway, boss says that without a real positive test, I have to come in, even though I could perfectly WFH. So I take my responsibility and ISO instead of going to the office. I go to the test center. And yes, self-test confirmed. The doctor offers me a note so I don't have to work all week. Which I gladly accept, of course. So instead of letting me WFH, I didn't work at all. All because Bossman had zero concern for other people's health. Edit. Learned something new today about English. A few years ago, 10 years ago, when I got a new job for a less than reputable company, I came down with a really contagious virus. Edit. Not COVID-19. Less than a fortnight after I started with them. Vomiting and severe lightheadedness to the point that I could barely walk 10 meters without being on the verge of passing out. I texted the rostering manager and explained the situation, then said I'm calling in sick and offered to get a doctor's note. He said that unless I can organize a replacement I can't call in sick. Unable to do so, because I didn't know the phone numbers of the staff members and I didn't want to risk failing my probationary period. I toughed it out and went to work. I made it 2 hours before the site manager sent me home. I got a taxi to the doctor's office and got a doctor's note saying I had a virus, as well as a blood test to prove I wasn't drunk, as there were a few accusations after people saw me stumbling around and I vomited 3 times in 2 hours. But before I left I spent 2 hours in a closed room with 7 other staff members. The next day pretty much every staff member called in sick and the rostering manager couldn't cover the staff members and the office was ridiculously understaffed. We needed 10 staff to operate normally. Could operate fine with 8, and in cases of emergency you could operate with 5 staff. And only 2 turned up. So karma struck the rostering manager. The company tried having a go at me for coming in sick when I should have stayed home. But I had proof that I tried calling in sick and the company refusing to let me and being told to cover it myself by rostering. Both turned out to be illegal actions and the rostering manager lost his job. The company I worked for closed down 2 months later. Which was unsurprising. They were doing heaps of illegal, immoral and unethic stuff and I felt absolutely no sympathy for the management whatsoever, and it sucks to be them because it's entirely their fault. Edit. It's from 10 years ago. It was just a bad chest infection. Not COVID. The last place I worked, I had 100 employees reporting to me. Days off and requesting time off were all done by seniority. Said it was often very difficult for younger employees to get weekend time off since we had government-mandated minimum staffing levels. The only time we could drop below those numbers was if people were out sick. We did have a very generous sick policy. They had to call no later than an hour before the start of their scheduled shift, and no documentation of sick time, i.e. a doctor's note, was required until the 5th call-out in a 6-month period. The flip side of that was if it could be shown that you called out sick when you weren't sick, there could be pretty severe consequences up to and including termination. It was not unusual to get several junior people to call in sick on the weekends. My general policy was, it's your time. Use it how you want, and I will deal with staffing shortages. However, don't put me in the position of getting in trouble because I did or should have known you were violating the policy. I can't count the number of times I had closed-door meetings with junior guys after they called in sick, which consisted solely of me having them delete social media posts of them being out partying on sick time. Pity you don't love somewhere with good worker protections. In many places, if you turn up, you need to be PID a certain minimum amount of hours. Did she still have the mesh trash can when you came back after being sick? Had a similar experience in my last job. One of the managers there was hard work and would think you were lying every time and tell you how you'd be letting the team down. Anyway, I got viral tonsillitis. Barely slept. Coughing like mad. Hot. Shaky. Sore throat. The works. Was meant to be in at 5 p.m. for an evening shift. Called to say I felt rough. Lo and behold, it was pain in the ass manager that answered. Told me to take some ibuprofen and see how I go. And that viral tonsillitis wasn't contagious. WTF? In the end, I went in to show exactly why I shouldn't be there. Keeping in mind I worked around food. In the hour that I was there, I barely managed to finish a single task because of how I felt. A different manager saw me. Asked if everything was okay because I looked ill. Told him what was up. That bellend manager told me to see how I go, and how I'd be letting the team down. He told me I shouldn't have gone in. To down my tools immediately and get myself home. Funnily enough, when I called in the next day to say I wasn't feeling any better, there were no issues at all. Should deliver the stomach contents onto him and his desk instead. Didn't make it to the bin. As a bonus, he might get the flu then as well. Is the manager a doctor? Who is making the decision to determine if you are sick? Hub manager has a medical background? I'm awaiting this scenario for myself at my job. We only get 40 hours sick time for the year, but work 12-hour shifts. One bout of the flu or norovirus or something, and so long to 36 hours of it. And what am I going to do with 4 hours of sick time? Plan to get sick 2/3 of the way through my shift? Anyways, at this point in the year, my allotment is spent. So, I'll be bringing my illnesses into the workplace for the remainder of the year. And they'll literally have to force me to leave, unless they grant me the time off. Which will mean others will get sick, and miss work, and not get things done, and exhaust their sick time allowances. Corporate America is its own worst enemy. Why didn't you go to your shop steward? Teamsters don't play that. At least in Northern California. I've worked for USPS, UPS, and FedEx as a package handler, mail sorter, mail carrier, and part-time supervisor of small sort. Amazing to me that a major corporation would be stupid enough to allow their wildly unqualified and unlicensed middle management lackeys to expose the company to that level of medical legal liability by allowing them essentially to play doctor or triage nurse. That is a first for me. Wow. Just wow. When did UPS managers get medial degrees? I missed a career opportunity. Was weak, dehydrated and kind of dizzy. So, Drove to the building. I hope you wouldn't do that now. It's appropriate to violate company policies if they're creating a dangerous situation. This is what Brown did for ME. That is how you pass the "see, I'm sick" test by the employer. Hope he had fun cleaning up his wastebasket. Why though? Are there doctors on site that can evaluate illnesses? Completely idiotic. Are you a doctor? No? Then how the feck are you supposed to evaluate me?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.